Down to business.
When he drinks, he thinks.
That's the nectar of the gods, baby.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the number one liquid-fueled, liquid, lubricated show on the interwebs. This is the Whiskey Musings Broadcast. And I am here, I am large, and at least thinking I'm in charge. No, Bonnie, I am not trying to get rid of you at all. Okay. First of all, welcome, everyone. I saw I had a new subscriber or follower on Rumble. So, thank you. I do appreciate it. I've actually picked up a couple, I think, in the last couple of weeks, and I haven't called that out. And, of course, I haven't called out all of my Neanderthal, mega, deplorable, whatever, across all my platforms, whether it's Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, or, of course, my special kids in the Rumble house. Welcome to all of you. I do appreciate you coming and watching. This is fantastic. As you can see, this is the 1st of November. Therefore, we go over to my personal favorite background, the winter cabin in the mountains. So this one will stay here for the duration until such time as it will be time to switch back to some other whiskey scenes. And, of course, after we pass Thanksgiving, because the rule. Well, maybe you don't know the rule, but the rule that I have, or that I request from my family, is no Christmas stuff until after Thanksgiving. We must do Thanksgiving first, then 12:01 on, whatever day is after Thanksgiving, whatever that date is, bam, you can go ahead and start playing all the Christmas music that you want. So you'll see some Christmas decorations pop up behind me as I go through when we get closer and closer. All right? Yes, and Outlaw Dogs Veterans Day is on the 11th. It actually falls on a Saturday, so you can guess that I will be putting together, I noticed that just today, so I will be putting together a Veterans Day program for the 11th, which is my Saturday night show streaming time. So, that is cool. All right, so I say so a lot. I don't know why I say so. That shouldn't be your drinking word, because if it is, man, y'all are in trouble. But anyway, so there I go again, see? Trying to find a different word for so, and it's locking up my brain. As you all know, I hang out on Twitter quite a bit. I try to hang out on some of the social medias, but Twitter is my favorite. And the reason why X, formerly known as Twitter, the reason why is because of all the leftist lunatics that are easily triggered, and of course the fast and quick interaction. Because usually when I post something on any of the other social media platforms, first of all, I'll be lucky if I get a lot of views, but if I do get the views, then I usually don't get the active interactions that I do on X. Now, X, there are some certain trigger words. There are some certain trigger words that drive the leftists that still exist in the Twitter platform and the Twitter sphere crazy. And I happened to see a combo. This is really strange, but they actually went and did a combo on this meme that triggered it. And of course, I had to respond, and I'll get to that tonight. Plus, I also have some information on some things that are coming out about the 14th Amendment. And we have a few other things that I have here. The show is jam-packed, so I better get to it. First things first, of course, is tonight I am drinking out of the Four Roses single barrel. I've, consumed probably a little bit more than half of it. But of course, there it is, for that, for tonight. And of course, I am drinking it in the True Grit Roots Network tumbler glass. And I have my rocks in there as well, my stones, my whiskey stones. Good stuff, good stuff. And we always have to recognize that today is Whiskey Wednesday. It's like Taco Tuesday, but for badasses. I try to get that little bass in my voice, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. All right. So before I get going too fast or too much here, let me go ahead and tell you about one of our wonderful TGRN Blues shows. This is a new one for you all. It is From the Delta to Beale, and that's reference to Beale Street. And this is put on by a gentleman who goes by the name Memphis Mark. And Memphis Mark will showcase the music creators with roots in the Mississippi Delta and their pilgrimage to Memphis, Tennessee, which is the home of the blues and the birthplace of rock and roll, featuring music from original craftsmen of this iconic sound like Son House, Willie Dixon, and the godfather of Delta blues, Charlie Patton, to those that followed in their footsteps like B.B. King, Ike Turner, and the Memphis Juke Band. That's Jook, by the way. We explore, this is still about the show, we explore music from Memphis blues labels such as Sun Studios and Stax Records that spread their influence up the mighty Mississippi to St. Louis and Chicago and west to Texas. From the Delta to Beale captures the humble beginnings of the blues of the Dirty Delta and to its widespread impact across the U.S. and beyond. That is From the Delta to Beale, that airs, original airing is Friday nights, 10 p.m. to midnight Central, and a encore presentation on Saturdays from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Central Time. Once again, From the Delta to Beale, original airing is Friday night from 10 p.m. to midnight Central Time, and Saturday, a encore presentation from 4 to 6 p.m. Central. Come and check it out. From the Delta to Beale, put on by Memphis Mark, right here on TGRN Blues, TGRN.net, Austin, Texas. And, of course, as I always say, I am part owner in that endeavor. Great set. I'm telling you, we've got some really good stuff coming. We've got another guy coming on here in the near future, very near future, and I really think you're going to like some of the stuff that's brought for that. So anyway, okay, let's move on from there. All right, so I was roaming around Twitter the other day. I think it was this morning, actually, maybe earlier than, no, it had to have been last night, because I interacted with a lot of shall we say, creative individuals. And the meme that came up, and I'm not going to tell you the whole thing, but here I'm going to sort of paraphrase it. And yes, it is X, formerly known as Twitter. That's right. Okay, X, formerly known as Twitter. I can't get that out of my head. But anyway, on X, the meme said something along the lines of with something about masks regarding, of course, the COVID situation, but something about how there's masks, and then if you don't trust masks and God will protect you, then why do you need a gun, or something along those lines. So if you'll notice, that's like 3 trigger subjects all in one for these leftist people, because you have the whole idea of masks and whether or not they work. You have God all by itself, and of course you have the all-fired, especially here recently, guns that are a problem with these people. And so, me being the person that I am, I couldn't just let that pass. And so I basically put in a response and put in 3 statements. Statement number 1 is that masks don't work. Statement number 2 is that God gave me an immune system. And statement number 3 is that guns are not the problem. The people who operate them are. Now, all of those are true statements, okay? Every single one of those is a true statement, all right? But that that triggered these people, I'm telling you. I had everybody and their brother, well, I won't say everybody and their brother, but believe me, I had people that were popping off that it was... And, of course, they immediately started talking about, well, guns kill people and so on and so forth. And if you're really interested in the entire thing, you should go and take a look at my X feed, and you'll find it. It's within the last couple of days, and they're... Oh, these people are fun. They are fun to play with, I'm telling you, because you know that those kinds of subjects will go and trigger them no matter what. So it's just sometimes it's just hilarious. And of course, you know, if they keep it civil, I'm gonna be honest with you, if they keep it civil, I'll keep entertaining them. I won't mess with them. I won't, you know, call them names. I won't do anything. But if they go off the rails, then of course I'll pull out, you know, things like or if they bring in things, for an example, like Trump, you know, Rob Reiner is celebrating or talking about celebrating or acting like you know, Trump is his best buddy, best pal that he's got to talk about all the time because he's a complete nut job. But anyway, I just like list out facts, list out, you know, all this stuff. And, yeah, so you should go check it out. You can check it out at Whiskey_Musings is my handle over on Twitter, or X, formerly known as Twitter. And you can go and check that out. I play with them occasionally. It brings me entertainment, especially when dealing with people who, you know, they of course jump on the whole, you know, like, oh, the Mayo Clinic says this, or maybe blah, blah, blah is this. And, yeah. So anyway, hey, Amy, I'm drinking. There's not a show without a drink. Come on now. Let's be real. Okay. Sorry, Amy over on Rumble was asking me if... anyway. Okay, so as expected, and we'll get into a few other things that I discussed. So that, you know, keep in mind, a lot of tonight's show is kind of based off of some of those trigger subjects. But apparently, as expected, the 14th Amendment trials have started. And they are Democrat strongholds, give or take. Democrat strongholds that are essentially trying to use the 14th Amendment to get rid of Donald Trump off the ballot. Now, just to be clear, I highly doubt they're going to be successful. Maybe the first round of the courts I could see possibly passing because it's happening in both of these places. But as far as, you know, is it going to continue past the appellate court? Well, it could. Either one of these cases potentially could go all the way to the Supreme Court. Let's just be real about that. So here, this showed up today. Cases in Colorado, Minnesota seek to stop Trump from becoming president again. And of course, both of these cases that are being brought have to deal with the 14th Amendment. And so one of the biggest challenges, of course, that they're going to have to show and prove realistically is whether or not Trump participated in, not necessarily that he actually like coordinated it. They don't, you know, it doesn't have to show that he was part of the planning. all they have to do is demonstrate beyond a reasonable doubt, apparently, that he participated in an insurrection. So a lot of the qualifying is going to take place with regards to whether or not what happened on January 6th was an actual insurrection. Now, you and I and anyone who has a brain knows that that wasn't anywhere close to an insurrection. An insurrection would very, very likely be an armed insurrection. And of course, all of the leftist pundits jumped on the bandwagon and they were like, oh, the insurrection of January 6th. And Lawrence Tribe, who's on X, also popped off and was like, this is going to get him because, he instigated the insurrection and so on and so forth. And don't listen to that guy. He's a complete nut and a moron. As far as it comes to the law and the lawyering and so on and so forth, he's often wrong. But the whole key here is, and this is where the entire case is going to hinge upon, is one, the interpretation of the 14th Amendment, which I'll get to here in just a minute. And two, whether or not Donald Trump actively participated in whatever it is that they're defining as an insurrection. Now, as we all know, Donald Trump did not go to the Capitol building. Donald Trump did not, granted, he may have wanted to. That was some of the reports, but he never actually made it there. And the other thing that like Lawrence Tribe talks about, how Donald Trump wanted to, take over the White House and stay in power and so on and so forth. I'm going to be honest with you. He left on January 21st at noon, or January 20th, whatever it was, at noon, as prescribed, without fanfare, without any kind of armed, other than his Secret Service, armed escorts, any other kind of, military presence or anything else. He calmly left D.C., boarded the plane at, I believe, Reagan International, and flew back to Mar-a-Lago. So how Lawrence Tribe, who, honestly, if he's a lawyer, he should be a hell of a lot more intelligent than I am. But how he can say that Donald Trump planned on staying in power is beyond me. Because again, he walked out of the White House on the prescribed day, at the prescribed hour, boarded the plane, and left D.C. There was nothing that he did that would have indicated that he was attempting to take power back. And that's essentially... yeah. Now, interesting question here. Naraz, I think that's how it's pronounced, over on Rumble asks, would it be unusual for the outgoing president to be there? Just curious. So, for them to shake hands with the incoming president and, cordial kind of thing, that has sort of happened in the past. But for him to in this particular case, especially usually the tradition is that the outgoing president leaves a note of some kind, on the desk or in the Resolute desk for the incoming president. It usually isn't like a physical meeting or anything along those lines. Most of that stuff is done, long from that. And honestly, the status quo for presidents is to not stay in DC. Obama is literally, as far as I am aware, the first president of the United States that has actually not only stayed in DC, but also purchased a home there. And so that has to bring into question why would Obama do that? Now, we all know about his place on Martha's Vineyard, but he actually bought a house in D.C. He has a place in D.C. And as I've told you on another program a while ago, he actually, almost all of Biden's cabinet, if not all of Biden's cabinet, are old Obama appointees, which begs the question, what the hell is Obama doing there? Number one, why does he keep visiting the White House? Because he's reportedly been there since Biden has been in office. And why is it that all of those people are Biden's, are not Biden's picks? They're actually Obama's picks. So anyway, as far as that goes, that's not very typical for the outgoing president, for any outgoing president, to be staying in D.C. Okay, so one of the things that, again, is going to be a real big question, and this is a article in Breitbart where they were talking about talking to the Colorado Secretary of State, Griswold, and Griswold says there are real questions if the Constitution disqualifies Trump from the presidency. Now, I don't know about you, but generally speaking, the Constitution, for the most part, is fairly straightforward in terms of how it, phrases things and speaks about things, so on and so forth. So it seems kind of weird that they would be questioning what's going on. Now, let me read out of my wonderful Constitution. Let me read to you what the 14th Amendment, and I should have put this in, but the 14th Amendment in particular, Section 3, the part of Section 3 is part of it. So let's see, 13, that's 14. Let's see, where is it? I want to make sure. Not Section 2. Section 3 is particularly where I'm at. So again, 14th Amendment, Section 3, it says, no person shall be a senator or representative in Congress or elector of president and vice president or hold any office, civil or military, under the United States or under any state who, having previously taken an oath as a member of Congress or as an officer of the United States or as a member of any state legislature or as an executive or judicial officer of any state, to support the Constitution of the United States, shall have engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the same, or given aid or comfort to the enemies thereof. But Congress may, by a vote of 2/3 of each house, remove such disability. So, in other words, what they're saying here is they're basically saying that if you've participated in an insurrection or given aid and comfort to the enemy and fit in any of those qualifications, that you essentially can't serve in office anymore. And so the thing about this is you'll notice that when I read through that, it doesn't say anything about holding the office of the presidency. It says elector of the president and vice president. And it goes through a long list of Senate or representative of Congress, military office, so on and so forth, or any kind of being in any other state or whatever. Yeah, that's a question that was actually brought up in now these. One of these, I think it's Colorado, is going right now. They had opening arguments on Monday, I believe. But the thing about it is that there's not a listing in here for being president, for having been president of the United States and participated in an insurrection. So what? I'll admit the 14th Amendment is a little archaic. It was put in, again, for anybody that knows history, it was put in and ratified after the Civil War, and it was designed to keep people who essentially worked for the Confederacy from holding office. Now, granted, a lot of people were granted amnesty and brought back into Congress in particular. You know, we've talked about it before. But yeah, it's just, this is going to be interesting. I got to tell you, I never figured that I would be this fascinated about American politics because of all of the crap that is going on just within the last 10 years. Oh, God, this is just going to be fun. All right. So another thing that happened, part of the Colorado trial, by the way, was they called a trial expert. And this trial expert, I believe it's, I'm not exactly sure, but this trial expert that they put on, I can't remember the name, but anyway, this trial expert says that Trump has promoted violence and said things like the words fight and fight hard and so on and so forth, even though the leftists have done the exact same thing. And we've got them all on record, of course, people like Maxine Waters, Ariana Presley, Cori Bush, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah, this is going to be a really fascinating scenario. I'm betting now it's happening in both Colorado and Minnesota. Both of them are leftist strongholds. Let's be honest. And yeah, fight like hell. That's right, Bonnie. He did say that, fight like hell. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. It all is going to rest again on the interpretation of the 14th and what they consider an insurrection. And as Buddy points out, his actual interaction with the whole insurrection thing as to whether or not he really participated in that. So anyway, yeah, we're going to have to watch. We're going to have to watch and see. I'm going to bet that at least one of these two ends up in appellate court and then potentially going all the way to the Supreme Court. Realistically, that's just because of the way that our freaking leftist lunatic justice system is actually working. All right. So the other thing, of course, that I just was telling you about in my monologue that triggers leftists, of course, is the gun debate. And I've extensively talked about guns on this program. I've talked about the AR-15. I've talked about the Second Amendment. And so I'm not really going to rehash all of that. But the one thing that I keep asking people, and you should be using this tactic realistically when you're up against some gun control advocate, for a loss of a better word, but you need to ask these people, what law, seriously, especially with any of the most recent quote unquote mass shootings, what law would have prevented what happened? And specifically, you should be asking what gun control law should be asked or should have been put in place to keep this from happening. And the biggest problem that, of course, they have to answer is, well, there isn't, they stutter, stammer, whatever, and then they go back to, well, if there wasn't any guns on the streets, we wouldn't have this problem. Well, I hate to tell you this, but the horse has left the proverbial barn on that one, because there is absolutely no way that we are going to be able to clean up the streets of all of the guns. There's just no possible way. That whole gun buyback program, which is something that they love to tout that happened in Australia, well, guess what? They have more guns in civilian hands now than what they did prior to that shooting, that mass shooting. So the chances of being able to clean up all the streets and get all of the criminals, by the way, to hand over their guns is just impossible. So the first argument, of course, is, Criminals don't follow laws. So none of the laws that they go to pass are actually going to do anything. Well, you also have things like this. And I'll get right back to that, get right back to my discussion after this break. Really quickly, if you are looking for a unique gift for yourself or potentially some other, like for an example, Bam, you might be looking at Bam Z, your daughter, and saying, hey, I need to find a unique gift for her. Why don't you head on over and check out my store? That's store.whiskeymusings.online. And Bam, I know you have a fantastic hoodie sweatshirt. I bet you that Z would actually like one of those. So head on over to store.whiskeymusings.online and check out all of the logo gear that I have available, along with my mottoed gear too. They have my motto on there of when I drink, I think. Got a whole bunch of stuff. I got a picture from a listener earlier this week who picked up the apron, the logoed apron, and was saying, oh my gosh, the fabric is so soft, it's great, so on and so forth. And so, yeah. Oh, Bam's now telling me that she wore her jacket to the Jonas Brothers concert. So Whiskey Musings went to the concert. Cool. That's awesome. I love that. But right now, until Christmas, I am running a 15% discount on all of the on all of my stuff. So if you put in at checkout the promo code Christmas, all capital letters, Christmas, and you can enter that at checkout. You'll get 15% off your entire order. That's my Christmas gift to you. And I would hurry up and get orders in. If you're planning on doing them for Christmas, they do have, I think, roughly about a 2 to 3 week lead time because they make these things when they are ordered. So head on over to store.whiskeymusings.online and at checkout, use promo code Christmas, all capital letters, to get 15% off your entire order. That is my Christmas gift to you, and I thank you for being a Whiskey Warrior P1 and showing the colors, play on words, showing the colors to all of the people who are out there. Once again, that's store.whiskeymusings.online, promo code Christmas, all capital letters, for 15% off your entire order. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart for that, and I do appreciate the support of the show. All of the support of the show. Coco Dominky says you need a kid-friendly logo. It's kind of hard to do a kid-friendly logo when you have whiskey in your name. Just saying. Anyway, so we know about the horrific act that was perpetrated over in Maine here recently, and it just, it makes it makes me sad that stuff like this happens. But the problem that we have is that all of the gun grabbers and gun control nuts, they come out and the first thing they blame is the guns. They don't blame the individuals. Now, if you look at the last several mass shootings that have occurred, and actually even all of the mass shootings, every single one of them have one thing for sure that is 100% in common. Every single one of them had mental illness. So rather than attacking the inanimate object, why don't you attack the mental illness and attack the laws surrounding it? Well, I gotta tell you, this would make a lot more sense and be a lot more effective if they would just do this. But check this out in Breitbart. Authorities said that Robert Card, whoops, sorry, I wasn't supposed to say his name, but anyway, that jackass that did this thing, he was not involuntarily committed and therefore not barred from passing the firearm background check. So in other words, a law probably wouldn't have stopped him. this was from the Maine Commissioner of Public Safety, Mike Sawchuk, indicated during a Saturday morning press conference that Maine shooting suspect was never involuntarily committed for mental health issues and therefore was not barred from passing a firearm background check. So again, I ask, what law, really, what law would have prevented this thing? And yes, I did say jackass, but anyway, the Democrat parties are jackasses. But one thing I notice is that we don't have any real data on what this guy's motive or anything was. I mean, other than obviously trying to kill as many people as he could, because he was hearing voices or whatever. But that's kind of interesting. And of course, we still don't have the manifesto from the Nashville shooter. No, not like we shouldn't have it, or at least present it. But anyway, this whole thing, I mean, there's no law that would have stopped him. There really isn't, because of the HIPAA laws, all of the privacy laws. And I'm not suggesting, please do not think I am suggesting that any of this stuff is going to take away from this, or that we need more laws, because we don't. And that was one of my arguments on X, was essentially, every single time something like this happens, the promise that is given to us is that we are, we're just going to pass this law. And once we pass this law, man, that's going to take care of it. And we're not going to have, gun crime is going to go down. And yet it never does. It doesn't go down. They just don't get it. And then you have people like, Hunter Biden, who lie on the form in order to be able to get their gun. And so, yeah. I mean, again, I don't think these gun grabbing nuts, they have no idea what they're talking about. And they really have a problem when it comes to understanding that we have over 400 million guns in this country. Okay? We have 400 million guns. And out of that, when you look at the statistics across the entire world, and, by the way, you remove things like suicide, which comprises roughly 2/3 of the amount of gun deaths in America, America's not even in the top 10 for gun violence. And mass shootings are only a small sliver of that. So the media, the mainstream media, and everything else are essentially blowing the mass shootings completely out of proportion. Not to mention the fact that, as I've told you on this program, rifles are one of the least used weapons in any kind of mass shooting, and it also depends on what you consider a mass shooting, what you calculate it as. And handguns are the most used weapon in all gun violence because of the fact that they're freaking easy to hide. Conceal, I should say. But these kinds of things that we're dealing with here, we're not dealing with anyone who has a rational sense of thought, because they don't. All they seem to care about is whether or not that black scary rifle, which isn't scary, but that black scary rifle, they only care about that. They don't care about the fact that it not only is the most popular platform across the entire country, but yeah, it's just a mess. Oh, and not to mention the fact too that, by the way, there is a correlation, not necessarily a causation, but a correlation, and I've talked about it on this program, in terms of the closing of the mental institutions. The public institutions there's a correlation between them, where when they started closing, the number of mass shootings and public shootings and things like that started going up. That's statistics. You can look at, if you look at my X account, you can find any of my posts. I pretty much will post the graphic that shows that. And I even talked about it on this program quite some time ago. But anyway. All right. Enough about that. So let's move on to some international stuff because, again, here's another triggering subject for the stupid-ass leftists, which is everything that's going on over in the Middle East. Now, the thing about it is that's triggering for these folks is the fact that they are jumping onto the they are jumping on the bandwagon that is, of course, supporting the Hamas terrorists. And they don't like the fact of people who are supporting Israel. In particular, what they don't like is the fact that in their minds, because Palestinian civilians are being killed, sad, it's tragic. I wish it wouldn't help, or you know, I wish it wouldn't happen. But unfortunately, when you hold civilians as human shields and you try and protect your targets with those human shields, unfortunately, it's just a foregone conclusion. Things are going to occur, even if you're not trying. To actually hurt the civilians in war. There are still civilian casualties. I mean, in World War II, there were, roughly 10% of the casualties that happened were civilians. So, war is very tragic and very scary, and so on and so forth. But when you have a organization such as Hamas that talks like this, and this is an article from Hot Air, that, there is a reason to be suspicious of what these people are really trying to do. So apparently this Hamas leader, spokesperson, went on a program and essentially said, in no uncertain terms, that they'll do a October 7th time and again until Israel is annihilated. Now, again, folks, look, and I talked about this on X. It's like, seriously, talked about this on X. On 10/6, before anything happened, if Hamas had decided to not do what they did the morning of 10/7, we wouldn't even be talking about it now. Israel would not have gone after Hamas at all. They have literally been leaving Hamas alone for the last, 8 years at least? And so I just don't get how anybody with a half a brain can actually sit here and say that Israel is the aggressor, that Israel needs to back off, that there has to be a ceasefire. Now, to be completely clear, the one and only way that a ceasefire should happen or should occur, it's pretty simple. 2 conditions. Condition 1, all of the hostages are returned. Condition 2, the unconditional surrender of Hamas. You guys do that tomorrow, and I guarantee all of the pummeling of Gaza will stop. And all of those civilians, Palestinian civilians that you're so worried about, will live another day. And on top of all that, once Hamas is eradicated and there's no longer any attacks coming from the Gaza Strip, I guarantee you peace will sit in the region. These people just don't get it. And so part of the reason, or part of the things that you can do if you run across these idiots and actually want to engage with them. I do it just for fun and punishment of myself, I guess. I'm a glutton for it. But here's some of the questions also from Hot Air that you can ask these people. And this is anyone who tries to justify the Hamas violence. When you hear the Palestine chant that Palestine should be free from the river to the sea, what exactly does that mean? What happened after Israel unilaterally withdrew from Gaza in 2005? Now, I'd say 2006, because, I mean, Gaza has been in control of the Palestinians since at least 2006. But, you know, there you go. What is the stated goal of Hamas? It's actually pretty simple. They have their frickin' manifesto. It's actually online if you really want to get it. How should Israel defend its population when Hamas hides behind civilians? Good question. And what would happen to Israel if it pulled completely out of the West Bank tomorrow, as it did with Gaza, which, by the way, they tried doing. They tried handing the West Bank over to the Jordanians. The Jordanians did not want it, just like the Egyptians did not want Gaza. Okay? These are just simple questions to ask, and no, there's not any questions. There's not any answers from these leftist sympathizers because they have no clue. They actually have no clue. And by the way, the amount of anti-Semitism that I have seen on X, formerly known as Twitter, is just astounding. I mean, I can't even... It seems like I comment on something, or if I look at something, all of a sudden X changes its algorithm, and now all of a sudden I got all of these freaking things that, I mean, jeez, it just... Anyway. Well, you know, a lot of people have been discussing this and been saying, hey, you know, that's happening over there. We don't need to worry about it here. You know, so on and so forth. And it's far away. We don't have to worry about it. And even some of the leftist organizations that are out there who have watched people like, you know, Dan Bongino, who has literally said that keep your head on a swivel because that crap can happen here. We are ripe and set up for the possibility of a terror attack. And they've been, oh, that's a bunch of horse pucky. It's a conspiracy theory, etc., etc. Well, guess what? Christopher Wray, FBI director, went ahead and said this yesterday from the Post Millennial. FBI. Oh, so hang on. Sorry. Yeah. FBI Director Chris Wray warns that a Hamas terror attack could happen in America. He says, we also cannot and do not discount the possibility that Hamas or another foreign terrorist organization may exploit the current conflict to conduct attacks here on our soil. Now, this is our major argument, okay? This was our major argument when it comes to the open frickin' borders, which, by the way, I don't know if anybody's noticed, but apparently there is a migrant caravan bigger than any others that we have been subjected to so far that is coming here through our southern border. Just so you know, I saw that article. I don't have it here, but I saw that article before I came on the air. And yeah, this guy, this jackass that's sitting right here in the video here, this guy's probably going to get 5 years. He's well, no, maybe not him, but there's another guy that on Columbia. Maybe this isn't him. I don't know. But anyway, there was this guy on Columbia. He kind of looks like him. But anyway, there's this guy in Columbia that is going to possibly get 5 years for threatening Jews on the university. But anyway, back to the piece here. In it, and I'm sorry, I'm wrong. This is not the guy. He's actually talking. He's one of the in the video here. Just to correct myself, he's actually one of the journalists for the Post Millennial. It looks kind of like the mugshot of the guy, though. But anyway, in a Tuesday Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee hearing, FBI Director Christopher Wray said the gaps in our intelligence are real and said that there was a possibility of a foreign terrorist attack on American soil. Now, I don't know if anybody remembers that whole thing with, the terror threat level and how it's like orange, red, green, orange, whatever. Well, right now, our terror threat level is at yellow for most of America because of the potential terrorist threat. So he also throws out, this is our freaking leftist FBI director, on top of the homegrown violent extremists and domestic violent extremist threat. We also cannot and do not discount the possibility that Hamas or another foreign terrorist organization may exploit the current conflict to conduct attacks here on our own soil, he's told the committee. So, yeah. Anyway. Buddy just corrected me. No, not him. Yeah, that's a guy by the name of Jack Lau. So I apologize for that. I was wrong. He kind of looked like it from the picture, for at least from my memory. Maybe I'm too old, but anyway. Wray, apparently during questioning from Senator Rick Scott, Wray revealed that the FBI and partnering agencies are good with the known, but added it's the unknown that I worry about quite a bit. So folks, this is scary just to even think about it. The U.S. border saw 172 people who were on the terror watch list attempt to cross into the country illegally in fiscal year 2023, which runs from October 2022 through September of 2023. 169 of those 172 were encountered along the southern border, while 3 were encountered by authorities along the northern border. Another 564 people on the watch list attempted to cross into the U.S. through ports of entry on the southern and northern borders. Yeah, this is just, and we've had what's close to 600,000 gotaways and maybe 6 million in the years that Biden's been in office. This is crazy. And what makes it even worse is I saw this in the Epoch Times. This came like right behind it. This is scary. Apparently there were illegal immigrants that were caught with explosive devices, and the Republicans raised the terror alarm about it. Republican senators, this is from the Epoch Times, Republican senators have sounded the alarm on the Biden administration's border policies after Border Patrol agents caught illegal border crossers who were carrying explosive devices that Senator John Bracero from Wyoming said were tailor-made for terrorism. Mr. Barrasso, who is the Senate Republican Conference chairman, made the startling revelation at a press conference on October 31st alongside Senators John Cornyn of Texas, Ted Cruz of Texas, and Pete Ricketts of Nebraska following their recent visit to the U.S.-Mexico border. Now, I don't know about you, but this is the first time that I have heard about potential devices, explosive devices, being caught coming from our border, which makes me wonder how many got away. If you think about it, how many have come through that border that haven't been caught? Now, the senators have made a claim that over 8 million illegal border crossings have taken place under President Joe Biden's watch. The fact of the matter is we don't know, because we have numbers all over the place. It's sort of like COVID. We have no baseline to go off of. We have no clue how many people have actually come through, because you have all of those gotaways. You have any of the ones that I mean, even the ones that you don't even know about it. We're just estimating the gotaways. What if we're estimating low? This is just crazy. This is nuts. Anyway, so I'm just going to tell you folks right now, head on a swivel, head on a swivel, head on a swivel, head on a swivel. And not only that, but our Democrats are deeply ingrained with these people. Deeply ingrained with these people. Okay. This from the National Pulse. Dem Dark Money Arabella Group has funneled $10 million to pro-Hamas protesters. Now, keep in mind, those are people who are here, most of them legally here on visas. Okay. And yet they're funding them. They are funding them. Arabella Advisors, a progressive Washington, D.C. based dark money operation, is using numerous nonprofit organizations it controls to funnel left-wing donor cash to groups organizing pro-Hamas protests across America. The firm is at the center of a vast network of dark money groups, which has now funneled over $10 million to anti-Israel causes over the past 5 years. They're giving them money, folks. They're passing money around to these groups. They're funding them, is what they're doing. And yeah, it just, I mean, this is some scary, scary crap. So, to be honest, whenever you get into a situation, hoping that you ever do, okay? Hoping that you never, ever do. But I wanted to include this article. Even sad that we even have to talk about this. But I wanted to include this article. It's a great write-up. It's from Active Response Training, which is a training group that does, firearms training in active shooter situations, active killer situations. And it's a really good write-up on what to do after an active shooting and you have gotten involved in an active shooter scenario. And the reason being is because most people don't think about what happens after the shooter is down. But as you've seen and heard, we actually have had here in the news recently where a good guy with a gun got mistaken for being a bad guy with a gun and got shot by the cops. And so, and I don't blame the police for that. I really don't, because, it's one of those things that, you don't think about. You think about what you're going to do maybe ahead of time, what you're going to do during. Like Dan Bongino says, when you go to a location, go and take a look. Where's the exits? What's your quickest exit out of there? How fast can you go? Those kinds of things. And so anyway, I highly encourage you to read this article, please. Weapon handling in an active killer event. And it comes up with some really great points when it deals with making sure that you're not the target once the police show up in an active shooting scenario. But go through it. It's a quick article, or a quick blog, I should say, but it's a quick blog to talk about it. If you ever decide, or God forbid, you ever have no other choice but to be a part of an active shooter scenario, and you must take care of business, make sure that you are able to get out of there, because as of Dan Bongino says, the number one rule of the Dan Bongino show is don't get dead. And I would really hate to find out that a good guy with a gun took care of the target, but then got shot himself because he was mistaken, him or her, because they were mistaken for the bad guy with the gun. And so this article kind of gives a couple of options to think about as you consider the possibility, especially as a concealed carry person, that you consider the possibility of being involved in an active shooter scenario for that. All right. Okay, let me go ahead and take a drink here. I'm being told to take a drink by my folks that are out there. And yes, buddy, I do know that Biden is sending money to Hamas. He's actually disguising it as supposedly humanitarian aid to the Gaza Strip. But we all know, that he's sending money directly to Hamas because, let's face it, there's no controls over there. There's absolutely no controls as to where that money is really and truly going to. All right. So I want to tell you really quick, we keep talking about all these wonderful things. We talk about all these wonderful things that are outlined on this great, fantastic document that we have made available to us by our founding fathers, known as the Constitution of the United States. I've got an absolute fantastic copy right here. You can pick up this leather-bound, Saddleback leather-bound U.S. Constitution by going off to constitution.whiskeymusings.online. That's constitution.whiskeymusings.online. And look at this. It is 1/8 inch of leather. The internal pages are tear-resistant and water-resistant. And just check out this binding stitching. It goes all the way through. All the way through. The leather and the pages. It is got a 100-year warranty against defects in materials and workmanship. If something goes wrong with this, you can send it back to the manufacturer and they will either fix it or replace it for free. It is buddy tested, buddy approved. It's also got Billy's approval. And my youngest whiskey warrior has tested out its accuracy by passing his civics badge in Scouts with this exact copy that he took, by the way, he took with him to go tour Washington, D.C. and had his copy next to the copy of the real Constitution of the United States. Get your copy for Christmas. Get that into the stocking of somebody who is a fan of the Constitution, and you can also get them for somebody who is not a fan of the Constitution, just to irritate the crap out of them. Head on over to constitution.whiskeymusings.online, and yes, Outlaw Dog says it has sexy rounded corners here in this document. Go to constitution.whiskeymusings.online and get this pocket Constitution that is going to be a keepsake heirloom for you and support the show in the process. That's constitution.whiskeymusings.online. That'll take you right to the Institute on the Constitution's page where they have that product. And of course, purchase by going and using that link. Purchase to any of the ones that you purchase provides a little help for the show, and I do appreciate that. And of course, we have to pass our founding and the wonderful things that our founders did for us to the generations beyond, and you can do that with this leather-bound Constitution at constitution.whiskeymusings.online. All right. And of course, I thank them for allowing me to be an affiliate and brand ambassador. Okay. So obviously, I was talking about masks, but did you catch this? Oh my gosh. I mean, anyone who, just the whole thing with COVID and how it came about and the lies and the mistruths and the half-truths and the cover-ups and all of that other crap that's been going on. I can't even imagine. I saw this and I just had to chuckle. So here in the post-millennial, Fauci run Montana lab conducted coronavirus experiments on bats with a virus that was shipped from Wuhan in 2018, according to a report. Oh my gosh, this guy just digs himself even deeper. I mean, we already have emails that basically say he was trying to cover up the whole it escaped from a lab process and everything else. It's just, oh my gosh. So apparently a taxpayer-funded National Institute of Health reportedly conducted experiments with coronaviruses more than a year before the global outbreak of COVID-19. A new investigation has found. The NIH infected 12 Egyptian fruit bats with WIV1, a SARS-like virus, at a Montana lab in 2018. The bats were obtained from a Maryland roadside zoo that lies just 15 miles away from Camp David, according to the Daily Mail. The WIV1 coronavirus was shipped from the same Wuhan laboratory where some experts believe the 2020 pandemic causing virus leaked from. I think it's not just some experts. I think a lot of experts are getting to the point where they're starting to realize that Occam's razor is in effect, and that is the most likely source of this. The research apparently was published in a 2018 study and revealed this week by a campaign group determined that the specific virus could not cause robust infection, so we don't have to worry about that. But still, how this guy this guy knew about it, got bats, pretty much knew the research was going on, and he lies about it and says that there's no way. It occurred naturally. Yeah. Right. Sure it did. It occurred naturally. Oh, these retards. Every single day we come up with something new that is out there. All right. Enough about this and stuff like that, but I gotta bring up, okay, so I gotta do pet of the week. Let's just go ahead and jump right into it. Where is my pet of the week? There it is. Let's go ahead and get into pet of the week this week. And this week's pet of the week was submitted by Outlaw Dogs. Now, for those of you that are intimately involved with both me and the Outlaw Dogs channel over on Rumble, you really should know these two characters that are that I'm going to present to you. But these two wonderful pooches had a birthday last week. They had a birthday last week. And so a belated birthday celebration to Bonnie and Clyde, who are 6 years old today. Now, I'm always fascinated because my dog literally just Angus does not like any kind of costumes or anything like that. Any kind of hats, nothing. He hates it. So I'm always impressed whenever I see animals that can do this. But Bonnie and Clyde are 6 years old as of last week. And this is their son over right next to me right here. That's their son. Bonnie, Clyde, and Billy. That's right. God, why did I forget Billy? Anyway, Billy the kid. So Billy was, of course, there to celebrate their 6 year birthdays. And there is their birthday cake, which I'm guessing based on the consistency. Yes, I know, Outlaw. I'm sorry. I spaced. Okay. She just yelled at me, Billy the kid, in the chat, just for everybody to know. This looks like it's a peanut butter cake with maybe some kind of a jelly compote on it with the number 6 in there. Now, there's more to this than just these photos. Let me go ahead and bring up, she, of course, does videos. So let's take a look at the video of Bonnie and Clyde's 6th birthday.
Hey, everybody. Here's the Outlaw Dogs.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Well, happy birthday, happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Well, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Well, happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you.
And of course, a great belated happy birthday to Bonnie and Clyde of the Outlaw Dogs pack, and Billy, their kid. I don't know why I keep mentioning it every time I put up, I don't know why I forgot every time. This is Billy approved. Billy, there in their son in attendance, of course, as dutiful young sons do. They had better show up. Anyway, so there we go. 6 years old last week. Happy belated birthday to the Outlaw Dogs pack. All right. Oh, I'm laughing. I'm sorry. Some person over in YouTube land has been saying it's I'm not even going to read it. I'm just laughing. I'm sorry. Oh, dude, it's just how you can even think that right now is just incredibly stupid. Sorry. I just anyway. All right. So moving on, let's get down to, of course, the wonderful impeachment stuff that has been going on. I don't know if anybody caught this. But apparently, Joe Biden, you remember last episode, I think it was last episode, maybe a couple episodes ago, where I showed you that facsimile of the check for $200,000, going from Jim Biden over to Joe Biden. Well, oh, check this out. Oh, this is just sad. The numbers of things that are piling up against this guy. I can't even believe how anybody still supports him. Okay, so Representative James Comer came out this morning and had a press conference, and apparently Joe Biden has now additionally, they can track, has additionally received $40,000 in laundered China money from his brother in 2017. Okay. 2017. I mean, yeah, they have the receipts. They have the checks. And as I pointed out, you know, real James Woods, who hopefully one of these days I'm going to try and reach back out to him again and maybe get on the show. He made a comment about how if this was true, and I responded back to him and said, well, you know, it's kind of interesting. First of all, they have the receipts. They've been releasing them into the, into the public. They've been showing the public some of the things that they've been finding, not everything, but, you know, enough to basically demonstrate that we have probably the most corrupt president, certainly within modern history, if not within all of American history, sitting in the White House right now. And he is, you know, he's taken money across the board from all kinds of foreign entities. He should have been a registered foreign agent, but he's not. His son should have been a registered foreign agent. But anyway, Comer basically has put out that he laundered. Now, this is the key, is that it's laundered China money. So they actually walked through the, in a video that was posted on X, he actually walked through the path that the money took from the Chinese corporation across each Biden person until it reached Joe. And, yeah, they have, these came after, of course, Comer subpoenaed the personal and business bank accounts belonging to both James and Hunter as part of the investigation into the Biden family business dealings, and whether or not the president was involved, which of course he is. He may not be the ringleader. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not exactly sure that he's the ringleader or not, but he definitely has benefited from his position as vice president. And so here we are, we're looking at 200,000 at least from one, and now we have another 40,000. So that's at least 240,000 that they have released to the public. We can just imagine what else they have on this guy. And so it's no surprise that you see things like what the new speaker has said, that it's very likely that Biden has committed impeachable offenses. See, one of those offenses that is impeachable, okay, is bribery. And so this money trail that Comer is very methodically, albeit a little slow, but methodically walking out and showing to the American public is essentially proving that he is taken bribes from these people. Now, do I believe that he's going to get impeached? That remains to be seen. If the Republicans can actually bring him to the House and get him impeached, that would be great. But do I think they're going to pass the Senate? No, because the Senate's is essentially, it's split 50-50 with Kamala Harris being the tie-breaking vote. So he won't be removed. But whether or not he actually gets impeached is going to be the question. Now, the thing about it is, though, is we're so close to the 2024 election that honestly, I don't even think it'll really matter if he gets impeached or not, as long as this stuff, like back in 2020 when the Hunter Biden laptop story was suppressed, this should hopefully sink his re-election campaign. The more information this stuff comes out, on top of all of the screw-ups that he's done in the last 4 years, really should be the big thing. Now, and definitely the talk of the town in 2024. But here's the thing, too. Now, you know that whole special counsel thing, and I showed you those articles last time about how David Weiss didn't actually have, based on the testimony of one of the whistleblowers, that Weiss did not actually have special counsel status. Well, now apparently the Federalist puts out David Weiss's office ignored thoroughly vetted evidence of Biden corruption. So apparently the Delaware team knew the FD 1023 was not Russian disinformation, did not come from Giuliani, came from a highly reliable, credible human source, and merited further investigation, but he sat on it. Now, he sat on it, of course, because, as I've pointed out in past shows, he has a connection to Hunter Biden's brother, Beau, and worked with him. So he obviously knew the Biden family, knew Hunter Biden, and I honestly think that there's a potential that Merrick Garland gave him the special counsel status in order to help continue in the cover-up. But this is just getting too deep. There's just way too much information here. There's way too much evidence that is coming out that is unlike Shifty Schiff, who stood up in front of the cameras and said, hey, I have all of the evidence. It's all right here. I'm going to show it eventually, or I'm going to show it, soon. And you just have to trust me. Yeah. Unlike that, Comer is actually doing the smart thing, and he's bringing things to the public over and over and over again, which, by the way, him bringing them to the public kind of brings just a level of credibility that the initial the former investigation into Donald Trump did not have at all, with regards to the impeachment, because we never saw the actual evidence until they came to that show committee bullcrap thing, that was produced by a television who is far from reality, a television producer, and so on and so forth with that. So this is actually, much, much better the way that Comer is doing this, albeit I think it's a little slow, but hey, whatever works. Now, also another thing came out. This from Red State. Apparently, the National Archives is about ready to release what is considered a treasure trove of Biden pseudonym emails. And, just the fact that he was using a pseudonym. I mean, let's be honest with you. The only reason to use a pseudonym is to cover up whatever it is that you're doing. If you have nothing to hide, I doubt you would even consider using a pseudonym. Now, I'll admit, I have a bunch of email addresses, but each one of those email addresses is for a specific purpose. It's not a pseudonym-specific purpose. It's just a purpose. Like I have business emails, I have, my secondary business emails, my tertiary business emails, I have emails for the show, I have, all kinds of other emails that I've had for decades that I keep. And there's a reason for it. It's because I'm not going to necessarily change those emails. But, here Biden had emails in order to, in an attempt, it appears, in an attempt to cover up or keep hidden his interactions with his son with regards to government business. And this is a problem. And so now the Southeastern Legal Foundation has, in reply to a Freedom of Information Act request, the National Archives has released 82,000 emails sent or received by then Vice President Biden, and those emails included the use of at least 3 different pseudonym accounts. So this is funny. This is already being compared to the 2016 Hillary Clinton email controversy, which I'm sure he probably learned it from her. She probably said, "Oh, do it this way. Cover everything up, whatever." Anyway, So they've located 82,000 pages of potentially government-related emails from Joe Biden's pseudonym private accounts. Not only, the National Archives not only threatens to supplant Hillary Clinton, Biden not only threatens to supplant Hillary Clinton in the email scandals, but it could also provide a boon to the ongoing federal and congressional investigations into the Biden family. The public is also sure to scrutinize the matter in upcoming elections. Yeah, I mean, let's just face it. This is just another nail in Joe Biden's proverbial coffin for re-election. That's just all this is. It's just added to it. Okay. Just added to the whole thing. Now here's another stunning revelation, by the way. Here's another stunning revelation, which I found this fascinating. But apparently there's an author who is writing a book, or has written a book, who's, he's his new New York Times best-selling book, Breaking Biden, includes a number of forgotten biographical details about Joe Biden, including the fact that apparently, we'll have to see if this is true, but apparently former President Barack Obama picked him as his running mate, quote, specifically because Biden was bad with money. He specifically picked this old guy because he was bad with money. Now, obviously, keep in mind, this is an unconfirmed report, but the fact of the matter is that it's coming out in a book. So that means that this Breitbart editor-in-chief, Alex Marlow, has put his reputation and his legal reputation on the line by publishing a book that essentially states this. Marlow, in promoting the book, says there is a fair bit of biography in the book. I tried to keep it as tight as possible, but I do think you have to get to know Joe to really understand if we ever want to beat them. We have to get to know him better than we know him. And then he continues, one of the reasons why Barack Obama picked Joe Biden was specifically because he was poor. Obama actually liked the optics of having one of the poorest guys in the Senate. And this is so crazy to me because we were just in an era recently where if someone made money and someone made it in America, we pointed to those people as the example. Like, wow, that person really has what it takes. They know what they're doing. Joe Biden's family has made money and lost it so many times, you lose count. And that was a virtue for Barack Obama. And then Joe gets in and presides over the worst economic policy he's talking about right now. I've got 2 chapters in this book imaginable. And it just haunts me that he tapped specifically for being bad with money. Now we've got Biden inflation. We've got these insane EV policies that enrich China. Now, obviously, Obama wanted to pick a broken person, someone who he could easily control. And that's essentially what we have right here, right now. All right, I had a couple of other things on the docket. Let me just quickly run through them. The IRS, of course, here in the Epoch Times, you know, that whole salesmanship thing that they tried to tell us at the IRS, all those 87,000 agents. Oh, no, they're not going to go after people who are making under $400,000 a year. Yeah, that's bunk. The Epoch Times, IRS chief hints at the possibility audits may rise for Americans earning under $400,000. I mean, seriously, it's like, I told you this was going to happen. Not that I want, self-praise stinks and I don't want to pat myself on the back, but anyone with a brain could have seen this coming. The IRS chief said his marching orders to staff are not to raise audits on Americans earning less than $400,000, but hinted there's a chance that it may happen. And the reason why is because of the fact, based on the articles, because of the fact of how they determine what each person actually makes. I think it's actually more than that. So realistically, that whole idea of giving Israel's additional support and humanitarian aid that Israel package, the idea of taking the $14 trillion off of the IRS budget, to me, is like a no-brainer. It should be two thumbs up. Everybody who is an American should get behind that. And also, the other thing that I wanted to tell you guys about real quick was the fact that even though Joe Biden keeps talking about how, your paycheck has increased, everything's going up, so on and so forth. Anyway, private sector payrolls rose 113,000 in October, but that was less than expected. The ADP says. So the ADP, for those of you that don't know, is one of the largest paycheck organizations. A lot of companies use them to administer their payroll. And they reported that companies added 113,000 workers for the month. It was higher than the 89,000 in September, but below the estimate of 130,000, which, by the way, just so you understand, every single time we have seen something like something is higher, something is more, it's higher than expected. Well, just wait about a month. They'll revise the number down. That's their trend, is they report a higher number and then revise the number about a month later, and it never hits the mainstream media. But apparently, anyway, their payrolls rose only 113,000 in October. And that is actually dealing with the number of people that are getting employed. So they've just been adding, they keep saying that they're adding numbers and adding stuff. And then on wages, the ADP said the pay was up 5.7% from a year ago, which, by the way, I seem to recall, even though they were talking about inflation being right around 3%, that inflation number doesn't include things like food and energy costs and gasoline. So, yeah, we're still losing money, folks. We're still losing money. Even though the Biden administration wants you to think you've got more money in your pocket, you actually don't. So anyway, that was just, that's my little economic corner. And then let's see. Just really quick too. By the way, if you think the prices at the pump are, high, wait until this. The Epoch Times also reports that Middle East escalation, meaning the more, and by the way, Israel and Hamas are at it, but now the Houthi, who are a Yemen-based organization, kind of like Hamas, terrorist organization, is now getting involved. They've declared war on Israel, and they shot some missiles off to Israel, South Israel. They were shot down, no problem. But they sent some missiles their way. So now they're talking about Middle East escalation could send oil prices to $157, according to the World Bank. And that is, of course, any escalation. That is, of course, because any escalation in the Middle East conflict could send oil prices marching toward $100 and beyond. So that whole thing about the Strategic Petroleum Reserve and how we were going to refill it and so on and so forth, yeah, that ain't probably going to happen unless we tap into our own resources, which I seem to recall a Keystone XL pipeline that was supposed to go in, that was in the process of going in, that got cut out by, who was that guy? God, some old octogenarian who falls down a lot. Oh, that's right. Biden cut that out. Oh, God. Folks, we are in a world of hurt. I'm serious. We are in a world of hurt, and do not be surprised if we hit. They've been talking about recession for a while, but I hope you're prepared. I really hope you're prepared. I would love to be able to come out of this and see all my Whiskey Warrior P1s back on an even keel. And that is my final Whiskey Musings thought of the evening. Do me a favor. If you like the program and you like what I do, and I know I'm a little over, but if you like what I do, please head on over to Rumble, because I don't know how long or how active YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook are going to allow me to be. But head on over to Rumble, sign up for an account. It's free. And go over to the Whiskey Musings Broadcast channel. Hit that follow button. It's green. It's hard to miss. Follow and subscribe to me over there. I do appreciate it. And we will see you on Saturday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, right here on the Whiskey Musings Broadcast. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you all Saturday. Good night, everybody.
The Whiskey Musings Broadcast is produced by Active Eye Media, LLC. All rights reserved.